5:15. Let's call the meeting to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? It's a beautiful sunny night, so it's none. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. No delegations or presentations tonight. Minutes of June the 3rd, 2024. Any errors or omissions noted? If not, can we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes of June the 3rd?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No unfinished business? CL report. We had about 200 meetings. A lot.
Yeah.
We're on vacation. Okay. On the Ninth Street upgrade project, contractors have been on site to do some valve locates, and contractors have submitted a temporary water plan and traffic control plan to the town. And once they are approved, we will circulate the notices to the residents. This was all done when I wrote this report before it happens,
Yeah.
obviously, so, and then, had some dates of, what was gonna happen over the next week.
Did they actually start digging today? I didn't go down by the school.
I don't
No.
know whether they actually, but I know that there was another construction crew supposed to be coming in.
Right.
They concentrating on getting the, temporary water, cause they gotta do 2 tests. They got all the pipes run.
Yeah.
Up top of the ground and that, and then they gotta do the tests, and once they clear the tests, then they'll be, the next one is to actually, connect each house to it, to the temporary one.
How are they connected to outside taps or going
Yeah.
down? So, I mean, your water bills could just be estimated for the next little while. I guess. Probably how that's going.
The system looks at the previous 6 water bills.
Yeah.
It's a year. And takes the average.
Yeah. So, and the other thing with temporary water, so, those residents that does not have an outside tap, have a contractor, will have a plumber install one for the homeowner at no cost. So, that's how that's the plan anyway.
Well, you think it'll give them enough flow? Cause some of those outside are like ½ inch, of course.
Yeah, well, most of them are on 5/8.
5/8.
5/8 meters on them anyway, so, you know, unless it's they would probably like, if it's a duplex or something, they may hook it to each one.
Give them the water.
Cause out there in Brian's place there, they've gotta make connections. So, in that complex.
Okay.
The Shore Road Culvert Replacement Project, we had a project kickoff meeting, it was held by Zoom. Contractors are preparing the traffic control plan and coordinating with the Public Works Director on the arrival of the culvert and other logistics. My understanding is that the traffic control plan has been submitted and been approved, and we're just trying to settle on a date when the culvert can be delivered.
do you anticipate that? Like, the project itself?
The project itself, I would say probably a good week and probably somewhere, it, you know.
Yeah.
There'll be disruptions for probably a solid week as far as traffic is concerned and that, because they've got to dig, throw fire and keep traffic flowing. Because we can't detour. We looked at the possible detour, but, it would send people up the old dirt road and around and be all right for passenger vehicles and stuff, but transport trucks would never, their tandems and stuff, never do well on that road. Well, they couldn't get turned there to begin with because they'd be coming down that way to try to get to the ferry as well. That intersection isn't conducive to trucks turning there, so. So we're gonna do the best we can with traffic control, flows going, and the other thing that'll help is we'll work with these ferry schedule.
Yeah.
When the ferry when they're gonna expect a big flux of traffic from the ferry comes in, and they'll know, and then from that to maybe an hour after that traffic goes, there'll be traffic coming for board the ferry. So there will be some overlap there. And Canada Summer Jobs Funding, on the 21st of June on Friday, we received notice from the Government of Canada under the Canada Summer Jobs Program that funding has been approved for VRC counselors, 2 positions for 8 weeks, and Public Works Gardener, 2 positions for 8 weeks. Each total funding received $8,512. This was welcome news, and as the first round of funding, we were advised, and as the first round of that, we were not eligible for the funding, so we get it's a bonus. That income is not reflected, I don't believe, in this budget, but it's gonna help.
Yeah.
A bonus. So.
Cool, any questions for Tom? Take any money we can get.
Tom, can you tell us what your meetings were with the Pines or with the Bay Ferries, or is that too early to talk about?
Okay, so the one with the Pines was discussing their future development plans and what, and the process that they would be going through to get their permits or development agreements and that sort of, trying to understand. And I believe that it's going to be, first part of the project is probably going to be the across the road, and the housing development up behind on there is shoved back on the back burner for now. Test it with these ones. But basically, I talked to them about, recently got back from Fox Harbor, and so basically their concept is something similar to what they had at Fox Harbor, right? Yeah. But they've got mansions up there.
Oh, yeah, that's,
But anyway, they are talking about doing that. Going to Bay Ferries, that was basically, they were seeking, and I met with Jeff and I originally, and to talk about their water system and wastewater treatment. And Jeff and I thought that they were gonna come asking for extension of sewer services and water services, but that wasn't the case. They were more interested in whether we would be interested in entering into a contract to sort of oversee for those operations. Like him. So they don't have to have a certified operator, right? So we're still gathering information at this point.
Is there any kind of a treatment plant there at all, or did it just go right up to the sea?
No, there is a treatment
There is
plant.
something there.
They're putting new water lines in now. Yeah, from the new wells they built, yeah.
Yeah, and then the treatment plant, somewhat of the treatment plant on the water supply, which I can only see is probably either UV or just chlorinating it going out, because there's nothing, if the well water is good,
Yeah.
then, you're just chlorinating the distribution. That's what our system is, basically, it's a distribution system. And, treatment is that chlorinate after, so that when it goes out in the distribution, it'll kill, it's supposed to kill everything, or anything in the distribution pipes, right? Keep the bacteria down. But, and their plant, I don't know how much, I can't remember the exact amount that they've spent on that, but basically, if they did come to the town and the municipality and before they spent that money, and it was in the million, so it's well over the million mark, if they'd have come to the table and said, here, we've got a $1.2 million, what can we talk about extending the lines out, because then they get really no maintenance after that, right? And, but they're not gonna do that now after they've already spent that money. It's federal money, but,
Speaking of sewage systems, that's the other comment that I wanted to make at the time. I'm a little disappointed that because we're spending $4.1 million, we didn't have any kind of a debrief from the Director of Public Works on what's happening on Mount Street, what the plan was for temporary water, what the plan was for street heat. I thought at some point we would have a presentation from him to say what was gonna happen, and it never really transpired. I mean, I don't think anybody's seen a schematic or anything yet.
No, the residents got a notice on the doors with kind of
Yeah.
a picture with it.
It's a little embarrassing when someone asks you a question and you don't know.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We have probably a little bit.
Duly noted.
We've got more streets that are gonna have to be done, so.
Well, I said probably not necessarily too late. I'd be happy if we got something that
Well,
just
yeah.
gave us a review of it, because, before Al.
We got the information, we just gotta put it together.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, we don't share the information.
yeah.
Yeah, I gave up telling people what's gonna happen.
Well, the thing is that.
I know Dexter's kept moving.
I don't know how many questions that you've been fielding questions left, right, and center, and even after they've been told what's gonna happen, they're still saying, well, and then we've had some, who thought the school was gonna be quite a big issue, that wasn't as big an issue as what we thought, because construction got postponed to the tail end, so it didn't really affect them that much. And they plan to be done that section, or at least done enough that access is gonna be to the school in September.
Okay.
So we're gonna start at the King Street end and work to West Street, do that section first. And then, of course, we're gonna have more than one construction crew here too, I understand. And so they will, so they'll be starting more places than one. Right now, they're going to concentrate on the lower, from west to
Because I guess today I sort of drove around at lunchtime, and I was a little surprised at how far out the street closures and detours are. I thought it would be much narrower to that, but it made sense after I saw it. But again, people are gonna be, streets are all closed.
Yeah, well, there's most of those side streets are closed to, they're just closed through traffic.
Yeah.
Right? So, and every one of those gates are manned, right? So they'll, if you say, I'm going to 64, whatever, and, they'll let you through, especially, like the section of Third Avenue from Warwick to Matt. Those things, because there's really not gonna be much of any construction, it's just, they don't want everybody coming up to the Mount Street intersection
Right.
and then have to try to get a turnaround.
Yeah.
Right? They'd much rather send them.
Even if we had that diagram to
Yeah.
put on Facebook, that people understand, you wanna go across town, go across Main Street.
And, cause we do have those schematics, right? Last week.
Yes, we do, yeah.
They're on the website, so the map, closure map is on the website.
Yeah, that,
Is it on the website,
It's-
is it on Facebook?
yeah, that there,
No,
I
it's on,
think we're referring people from Facebook back to the website, just because the maps are so detailed and so, isn't that where
Yeah,
it's all?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just big.
It's,
Because,
yeah, it's not.
Yeah, if you get it down into somebody trying to look at it.
Yeah, so the Mount Street closure map.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of,
See,
yeah.
we're kind of directing people back to,
Yeah,
this map
well,
on the website.
some people get a hold of me and said, well, it's so blurry they can't read it.
Mm.
Yeah, so, get a Google Earth and then draw one.
It'll be a
Just
lot
an
of fun.
artist rendition.
Yeah. Good.
Can't always please everybody.
No.
We'll
Yeah.
try, and we'll do that, put a brief together for the council, so they
Yeah.
aware of what's going on.
I usually get it at the, from the Tim Hortons crowd, it all lives on Mount Street. Okay, waste check. I was in that meeting, Mike, I'm not there.
Yeah.
I was there for a while, then I lost connection, I was in the mayor's office, and lost connection.
Didn't know there was so many categories of garbage, did you?
Yeah. Yeah. Growing by the day. The comment there about invasive species and spreading by ditching, well, I don't know, all those Japanese knotweed is everywhere, it's not, it's throughout the whole county, you go anywhere, Van Tassel Lake, up on the golf course, in town. I think it's beyond worrying about ditching, but do we wanna write a letter to the province concerned about invasive species and how they're gonna deal with it? They used to have, Leroy Warner was the local invasive species. Yeah, weed inspector. Yeah, weed inspector. He used to go around and be identified in somebody's yard, he went to them. Dig it up. Do we wanna write a letter, or the waste jack said bring it back to council?
Wouldn't hurt.
Maybe we just write a general letter, concerned about the invasive species that are happening. Yeah, okay. Draft something on this, or no? Do something about climate change too.
What's wrong with the Himalayan blackberries?
I had to look it up when I saw them, see what it was all about, so. Okay, committee of the whole. Got a couple recommendations from committee of the whole to council. You wanna put the first one forward?
I'll move forward for bylaw number 2024-02.
Second that.
Any discussion on that?
That's all of the cemeteries.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. And committee of the whole recommend that we change the hours of the washrooms?
And correct the spelling for
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
Make that a motion? Yep. Okay. And seconder to that?
Second.
Any discussion? I see people coming and going. It'd be interesting. You can buy $50 counters. We have one of them at Tassel Lake.
I'm surprised your door
And just a
locker wouldn't tally that.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd
Yeah.
have to ask that question.
It would just be interesting to see, to have a count
Yes.
on, yeah.
All the naysayers, well,
Exactly.
5,000 people differ.
But I do see, I drive through town quite frequently and I see people come in. This one, I haven't noticed down here, but this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one here, I see people.
This one here, I visited it yesterday, and when I came out, there's 4 people standing there.
Well, yeah. Must have had their hot dogs. Just another comment before we pass, the washrooms that we sent people to Digby Station, and we didn't realize they were closed, you know? Cause then I started telling them to go here. Cause,
And,
yeah,
I didn't find out until
Yeah.
this morning.
Okay.
What it wasn't, but there's a part that had to be ordered for the door. Big damn doors right now, it's almost up.
right, okay.
But
You just reminded me of something I was gonna ask you. If the power goes out, do those doors lock? Do they unlock? Do they stay in the,
that I don't know, but it's got
There's
the,
a physical push.
there's a lever that you
Yeah.
can push to get out.
yes, but if the power goes off at 2 in the afternoon, can you not get in the bathroom?
Yes, you should be able to pull it open. I think that the button on the outside, it just said you need assistance,
It's just wheelchair.
wheelchair
Oh,
assistance.
okay.
And the light there is either green or red. If it's red, then you know there's somebody in there,
Yep.
right? If it's green, you should be able to just pull the door open.
But I wondered if there's no one in it and the power goes off.
Yeah.
Does it lock? Does it stay open? Is it depending on when the programming is? Well, I don't know what happens.
I'm not 100% sure, but I would say that probably for life and safety issues, it wouldn't lock, because if it did lock somebody in, or, you know, it's not so bad locking somebody out.
There is a physical lever on the inside.
Yeah, there's a
There
push
is.
button.
So you can always get out and get one.
You can always get out, right?
Yeah.
And,
Okay, we'll need to find out then, just, but I would think.
because basically you have to press the button when you're inside to lock the door,
Yes.
right? Otherwise, it's not locked.
Could be interesting, maybe you can open the door, go in, but you can't lock it.
Right.
So that might be interesting.
Embarrassing situation. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah,
Is there any plans to paint that one, anything on that one?
over here, the ones,
Yeah, I think I don't know when.
yeah. He came back and finished this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice, but I think the early conversation is make this one kinda fun, children orientated, yeah. Okay, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. Digby Area Recreation Commission.
What's in your package?
And just to add to that, Tom and I had conversations with pickleballers. So I know Tom talked to Sharon, I talked to Sharon, and I talked to, Tom talked to Sharon, and I talked to Matt Ross. They're gonna work their way through the issue with pickleballers. There's some, I think it's just personality conflicts with certain people, and so they're gonna have a meeting, I guess, like, you don't know when.
We're having a meeting tomorrow night.
Warren.
Sharon, myself.
Okay. Matt wanted me be there at the meeting, but I said, don't need to be there, it's just, anyway, there's some disagreements with the pickleballers over use of facilities and times, and this is just a continuation of, well, there's been some issues in that was rural.
Yeah, it's just gonna, I think for the most part, it's just gonna be, sit down, talk it out, and come to an agreement, and,
Yeah.
and, you know, there was complaint about an employee, Dark's employee.
That's what we're discussing, right?
And, you know, my understanding after talking with, the manager is that employee knows that it wasn't appropriate, that waste. And, so, I think I'm confident it's gonna be handled, but, you know, it was for Dark to handle, because that's what I told her, Karen, I said, you know, they were looking for somebody to talk to, when they came to the town hall, and originally looking for Ben, and then,
And then I walked in.
yeah, and so, they were talking to me, and then Ben happened to show up, so I collared him and brought him in on the conversation, so.
It's,
Anyway,
yeah,
I think it's unfortunate, and, the two individuals, I believe, are a little excitable,
and I
it's
told him,
unfortunate that things
Yeah.
happen the way that they happened,
I told Sharon the same thing, I said, this is an issue with personnel and personality conflicts, and you know, have the confidence in you fellows in settling it, so.
yeah, so it's not,
Ran into,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like, we're on the subject of Dark, I'd like to talk about one of the white elephants in the room that we seldom ever speak about. We get these reports from Dark every time that we meet. They're filled with glowing things that the Dark staff is doing and adding new and more programs. We send people to Fredericton for 3 days, 2 people to Fredericton for a conference. We sent people to another one on June 6th in Windsor. We had an opening to a splash park that was scheduled an hour before the public was invited. Who invites everybody but the public to an opening of a public facility?
I nearly.
That's disgraceful. That's disgraceful, Mr. Mayor.
Some people,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I have a bit of a rant about this because I'm really
Yeah.
starting to get upset about it. It's not, what, Matthew, number 4 or 5 on our top list of expenses for this town?
Of expenses?
Right on fire services? Right in front of fire services. We spend more on Dark than we do on the fire.
Probably not fire total, but yeah, it's right up there.
So it's a lot of money.
it was our fastest growing expense for a number of years as recreational services.
It's a want, it's not a need. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
No, where does it ever enter a conversation along the line of anybody in that department, anybody responsible for that department, to say, we can't keep expanding the budget to pay for what they're doing? It's got just, please, Mr. Mayor, I have a few more things that I want to say.
Oh, yeah, no, I was
The
gonna say
number one
that-
priority for that rink is the responsibility to repair the building. On this report, it's number 11.
On the report?
Number 11.
On our report, on the Dark report, yeah.
Danny notes in his report that the top of the wall between the two sections moves 2 to 3 inches. And we're going to conferences.
Those conversations must be had around the board, at the board level, do they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Most of the conferences as well, that Debbie attends is paid by the province, because she's employed by the province, right?
That's right.
And somewhere we've got to have a discussion about maybe the budget has to be cut. Maybe staff has to be cut. Maybe something has to be cut in order to I don't care if you have 1,000 programs. If you don't have a building to put those programs, you have nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I was gonna say, I think it's a valid point. We're not necessarily looking forward. Like there's lots of great programs that happen, but we've acknowledged before there's some issues with the building. There's potentially $1 million plus infrastructure deficit there. But instead of, adding more programming, we need to be looking at setting aside, a certain amount of money every year so that we can tackle that infrastructure deficit, because I'm kinda concerned one day we're gonna end up at a point where, Tom shows up and he says, we gotta have a meeting about dark and the arena's gonna be replaced. Because
We've
if
already
we're,
been through one of those before.
okay, well,
We
I mean,
ended up closing our rink because there wasn't any long-term planning. And then we were in ice service for how many years? I don't know, I went to Cornwallis to play hockey anyway, 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
before we.
and, nowadays to replace something like that, I have no idea how much it would cost, but I imagine it's, tens of millions of dollars to replace what we currently have there. And if they're not together looking at that and saying, here's what we need for proper upkeep, we're positioning ourselves for a bad outcome one day. And I honestly would rather we not be without one. I mean, I know I've said before, I don't think the 50-50 share is necessarily where we should be, but if that's not changing, then the very least we can do is start to say, we need a plan for the future. And we need to, and maybe it's not even setting money aside, but it's taking $50,000 a year, carving it out of the existing budget and putting it towards building upkeep. Because, even if we're starting to get the budget more, in line with where it should be, or the growth of it, we still have to look at, what's long term. And Todd makes a good point in terms of, we're not gonna have any programming if we don't have the facility.
That's a request we can send to the board, say, listen, we're concerned that we're gonna be looking at tens of millions of dollars, and we will be. We will be.
$650,000.
Was it $500,000 2 months ago?
Yeah. And put that in writing from council, because future councils don't wanna be surprised. I got thinking about, Jaffa the other day, what an opportunity would have been to have a big recreational facility. You get that building and add on a rink and all that stuff. Maybe it was a missed opportunity, but that wouldn't have happened. But council want to send a letter to Derek, concerns, expressing their
This is
concerns?
the last 6 years on here, so the last 2 years have been 10% increases.
Just enough with one.
Is it operations or, I guess it's all essentially operations?
All operations.
Oh,
So,
Well, sorry, they do ask for a capital amount within there,
Yeah.
but that is all.
Comes out of our operating budget.
yeah.
Comes out of our operating budget.
But there's capital cost and
Every year there's some capital costs, so we might have to
Oh.
I mean, are we at the point where we have a wall between those two partitions moving? Should we have a structural engineer come in there and say, this might fall down on someone's head?
Yeah, what's the building permitted to move by? We had that issue with fire hall, right? That were
Yeah.
all the walls moving. Like, what's the
Is it
requirement?
required into the structure? What's going on?
I have no idea whether there's 2 walls there, or just the one wall, or,
If it's the one, if that's a really long wall,
yeah.
that's huge.
That whole side by the elementary school is right. So you gotta cut
So it's
half,
the-
they gotta cut it half down,
The,
right?
the metal, the sheathing,
The whole bit.
but if you got your wall moving, yeah.
So that might be a good thing to get an answer to first is, do we need an engineer to look at it?
Yeah.
Are we at the point where we have to do that? Because maybe we're too late in having a conversation with setting money aside.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, if there's a structural failure there, they're coming back to both councils.
Yeah.
If something happens, they're coming back to both councils, whether it's a liability issue or.
And we have people in that building every day.
Yeah.
That's gotta be looked at.
So, I was gonna suggest that we make some bullet points of our concerns and then draft a letter. And send it to Darrell, send it to the chair.
If we have any other questions, we send them along to your.
Send them to Tom,
And,
send them to Tom, make a list of your concerns, send them to Tom, and we
Yeah.
draft a letter.
Maybe if the other council's having the same issues, we need to have a joint council meeting where we, get a consultant, I mean, she was gonna get a consultant ages ago. We can go through the whole building, right?
They have a lifespan, they have a life expectancy, and that building was what, 80?
I can't-
1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a 40, 50-year-old building.
And there was years that was nothing done on that building. Sharon inherited
The mess, yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I just don't, with my, what limited background I have in construction, that I just can't see a wall that moves at the top and 2 or 3 inches one way. Is it just going one way, so it's leaning, or is it like a loop stoop going back and forth? And if it's going back and forth, that's totally a different thing. If it's sort of leaning, then it could be a stress pulling it that way. But that, in that report, it doesn't,
Not very clear.
it's not clear on what
It's
actually.
alarming.
Yes, it is, very alarming. But it doesn't tell us what is really going on. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, it looks like that thing is moved 2 or 3 inches, right? Which means there's more strain and
Somewhere.
pulling it somewhere, or it's pushing it one way, so that means it has to be reinforced.
And it's a wooden wall tied into a metal structure, I assume, yes?
I don't know, because
The
that's,
steel girders.
I think it's steel.
Yeah.
And if it's just the cinder block between the girders that is moving, that's not as bad as
The whole wall.
if it's the girders itself that are
Yeah.
moving, right? I mean, we had a report not too many years ago that basically they had somebody go in and look at it and said, well, the roof is gonna fly off of this because it wasn't bolted down properly, right? And, you know, the thing is, basically, to remedy that, they went and had somebody go and retighten all the bolts that holds the rafters onto the walls, right?
Bottom line is, we're not structural engineers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not structural engineers, and the thing is, and I mean, you have to have a structural engineer that you can trust, number one. And, because then that you will have faith in what they tell you at the end.
Yeah.
Because even with that fire hall one, that structural engineer had in his head that we were gonna build a new fire hall, so he was saying that it wasn't safe. And what he cited as being, there's no question that that fire hall had moved since its construction. But there's no, you know, we've proven since that there's been no constant movement. And the thing was, he looked at a crack in the gyprock and said it was a stress crack, and that stress crack probably had been there 15 years, right? That same one, because they just painted over it and they opened back up again, right? They didn't fill it. Since they filled it over there and they had a good paint job, you don't even see that crack anymore, so it's not moving.
But we've been made aware of potentially a structural issue, so if we don't do something, we have to accept some liability for the loss. So send your bullet points to Tom and we'll draft up a letter and get it to the board.
And I'll get the
Yeah.
clarification on that 2 to 3 inch thing tomorrow.
Yeah, find out what it
I'll
is.
send it out.
This is actually just a separate point, but it
Yeah.
goes to Debbie's report at the bottom. I know you said she's a provincial employee, but I think we should highlight that that's the type of report that's fantastic to have. It's very detailed, it gives numbers, it gives breakdowns, it gives usage and where they've got their programming going on. So maybe it's a suggestion to Danny and Sharon that they can give actual numbers of things that are happening in some of the events. It helps, it's good to see it. And that way too, if we get questions on what are you doing, who's showing up to this stuff, then we know. Because they both reference some of the things that happened, but, you know, Debbie gives a really good breakdown of everything that's there, so, not to say they should copy exactly what she does, but if they wanna sort of copy that formatting, I find it's great to read it, and she even highlights the important parts to make it easier for us, because she knows we don't have long attention spans.
Well, we're paying a little bit more attention all the time. And this has been an ongoing discussion for a while now. Okay, so get your points in. If you're concerned about the operating and the traveling, I think the biggest concern is the current existing condition of that building, and what are the long-term plans? We will be looking at replacing the building. And out of that will be curling clubs, and then you're gonna hear about indoor swimming pools, you're gonna hear about all kinds of stuff. Walking track. And you're talking tens of millions of dollars in. Yeah, tens of millions. Well, you look at,
Fire halls inside of it.
well,
So another two,
some
3
places they
million.
do that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, some places they do
It's
that.
easier to look after one big building than 2 or 3 small ones.
Yes, it is.
Easier to fill a pool.
Yeah.
Okay, so get those into Tom and we can get a letter off. And the other as well, Councilor McCormick referenced the 50-50. I've always had a bit of an issue with that because,
Yeah.
but that's a hard one to fathom.
Well, but,
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I got my thoughts on it.
Yeah, so,
I mean,
yeah.
the formula that we arrived at for the wastewater facility, treatment facility, is we are 50% owners. So capital, we pay 50-50, right? Because we're 50% owners. That's like it is with the arena. We're 50% owners of that facility. Now, when it comes to the sewage that's being pumped in, we pay by the gallon or whatever amount of usage, paid based on usage. And that's what the recreation program should actually be based on.
And we do solid waste the exact same way as we do sewage.
Yeah, so that some kind of formula like that could be derived.
The only hard part is do programs down in Neck Islands, we do programs in Weymouth. So how do you define the cost of those programs, right? Because we're hiring people in those communities to do that work too, because we obviously can't go down there and do anything.
It's like a business, you just do a subdivision.
So we're
A
lucky.
division of the company does Bear, or a division of the company does Swisco, a
But
division.
we're lucky that we live in town and have a facility here, right? So, yeah.
But
Unfortunately, yeah, it needs an upgrade.
what needs to be real, just my humble opinion, what needs to be is the recreation program, the cost sharing in that should be different. Because it costs more to provide, recreation programs in Weymouth and down the islands and down the west. Right, because you've got travel, you've got to pay.
Well, that's another problem with the budgeting process. Because they have budget, they do the process, we get it at the end, we have no idea what's in it until it's finished. And then in the middle of the year, they say, oh, we're gonna pick up pickleball. Where's that money come from?
Yeah, but in Debbie Haight's report, she does break it down in participation in various areas. So you can apply a dollar amount to those numbers.
Yeah. Well, we heard the same thing at the county though, and I didn't think of it, and it's true. People in Freeport don't give a hoot about the facility here.
No. Okay, so get that in. We'll do a draft of some sort of letter, and then we'll go through it and make sure that we're covering all our points and send it to the chair and board. Budget committee. You're up.
Okay, so I know that we've already been over the bulk of the budget, and there's only been a few small changes, and those are built into these numbers. Those changes, just have a note to myself here, they were all small. HST offset, when you get the actual number, it's $3,000 higher, so we adjusted that. Canada Summer Jobs, a little bit more revenue, 8,000, not 5. And the churches and cemeteries are out of the fire rate in this budget. Now, I know that the bylaw hasn't been passed yet, but that's, that takes out 3,000 in revenue if we take the churches and cemeteries out, and I believe that's the direction we're headed. And there was a small reduction in the fire protection rate paid to Digby Water Commission. That was an error. We had an ongoing rate study, so the numbers were bouncing around and changing. And basically miscellaneous revenue was reduced to balance to offset that. And I think our miscellaneous revenue was a little bit too high anyway. So with that said, You all have the budget, you can tell it's not significantly different. I'll just go through the presentation, and I don't know that this isn't shown on the video, but the document's available to anybody who'd like it. So, current budget draft. This is a balanced budget. The residential, commercial, fire protection, and deed transfer rates remain unchanged. The garbage rate increases from $319 to $353 per dwelling unit. Sewer rate increases from $6.61 to $7.34 per 1,000 gallons of water used. So that would equate to a bi-monthly increase of about $4.38 for the average household. The average household using, say, 6,000 gallons of water every 2 months. So the transfer to capital reserve. This year we've done the transferred out the full calculated amount, and that's good because in the prior 2 years I don't believe that we had, and we need to make sure that we keep topping up those reserves, the capital reserve. And so the only unsustainable one-off transfer into the operating fund is a transfer from the Safe Restart Reserve Fund in the amount of $32,797. Prior year deficit has to be funded by the PRAM, the Province of Nova Scotia regulations. Our prior year's deficit must be funded. It shall be funded in the regulations. And we're basically saying we're funding it from an equal and opposite amount of a transfer in from our operating reserve. Always thought it was, well, I personally don't like the way they say we all have balanced budgets. Municipalities don't have balanced budgets. The last 2 years we didn't. I mean, we all know that we drew from reserves, so we really shouldn't tell the public we had deficit budgets the prior 2 years. This one is a balanced budget.
I did. I told people that we were facing deficits and we transferred money in from our reserves to cover those last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't like the presentation that they force us into. I believe it's not transparent. We should be saying we're running a deficit when we run a deficit. So the budget highlights, total revenues up $349,000 or 7%, and expenditures are up $263,000, that's 5%. Residential property tax increase is the main increase in revenue, and that's $208,000 or up 10%. And bulk of that, of course, because of new construction or newly purchased homes that are outside of the cap, because the cap was only at 3.2%. And the largest increase in expenditures is, not surprisingly, the RCMP. It's a $65,000 increase, that's 6%. And the water supply for our hydrants that we pay to the Dignity Water Commission is up $21,000 or 11%. And that's because a water rate study was just done. And the water rate study calculates the amount that must be paid, and the UARB says thou shalt pay that amount of money, and the municipality also pays the water utility based on the number of hydrants they have.
Matthew, the sheet that I have, the rest account that shows us where we are in relation to other utilities in regards to water, maybe make that available, so that, because you will get questions. Actually, I saw on Facebook, even though they said someone posted, are the water rates up? Well, they're not. There must be another issue going on.
You will see it on their September bill.
Yeah, and but there is Matthew prepared a spreadsheet for the commission that shows us where we are in relation to, and we're still low.
Okay, we're
substantially
still
lower than
I've just got more questions about the garbage rate and why the garbage rate had gone up so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got garbage. I did have water that day, and so the water rates haven't gone up, but they are going up, so.
So the garbage rate's break even, right? We don't.
Yeah. So the garbage rate, we'll probably get that in here somewhere, but I believe number one thing is the tipping fees were up a large percentage. I think it's mentioned in here. So that's the biggest part of the expenditures. That's up. The amount the garbage rate goes up. So salaries and increases up. Salary and wages up $55,000 or 5%. And the salary scales were increased by 3.5%. CPI was running 4%. Policy says it's the lesser of 3.5% or the increase in CPI. So the they'd be up 5%. There was a few more budgeted hours in public works, and I believe a couple people increased on their steps. So you're not seeing the 3.5% there. And net transfers to our own reserves are up $50,000, and that's a good thing. It basically means we're putting the proper amount into our reserves that we should be having in the past. So service exchange benefits, I think we've seen that a few times now. Financial capacity grant or equalization up. Corrections, we no longer have to pay, 26,000 saved, and housing, we don't have to pay. Last year we budgeted $80,000. So,
We went through this before. They took it away from us and then gave it back to us. So.
hope it sticks this time. So I thought, I put this question in because I thought this came to mind and thought a lot of taxpayers may be asking councillors. So if my assessment had a large increase, why weren't you able to lower my tax rate? And fair question. It's what's going on. And the thing is, for most people, they might say their market rate is up, yes, hugely, but their cap was only up 3.2%. So that's the biggest single thing there. That probably our costs are up more. Well, they are up more than 3.2%. And the other two things is the prior 2 years weren't sustainable budgets. So this is finally a sustainable budget. We're not robbing from our reserves. And not only did we budget basically for deficits prior 2 years, we actually even came in worse than that, 2 operating deficits over the past two. That was the only 2 in the past 20 years, suggesting rates may have even been too low, even with robbing from our reserves. So it's not.
Can I ask you your opinion as an accountant? Do you think that in years we have a deficit budget, we should be spending any money on grants?
On grants, that's a political decision. That's not for me to say.
Well, he asked you as an accountant.
And as an accountant, that's a political decision.
Well, for instance, our deficit, yeah, our deficit last year was what, 100 and,
It'd be over 200,000 by the time we get the
$200,000,
final bill
so.
for housing. It's probably
Yes.
going to give us a big bill.
$40,000 in grants is a significant amount of money, but we have bigger issues. It's a lot.
Yeah, we're basically at a
Sure.
$6 million budget if we look at this. We should have shouldn't be netting out the education like we do, and the water commission is in there. We go through $6 million.
Yeah. Huh?
So, the thing, though, most of the grants that we apply for are capital grants, right? What affects, well, in a way, eventually affects our operating budget, but the grants affect the capital budget, right? More than an operating budget.
Yeah.
Depends on how we fund it.
You're talking about grants to organizations, aren't you?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's what I was referring, that's
Yeah.
$40,000.
Yeah, all right.
We're borrowing from ourselves to try and get by, and yet we're handing out money
But,
on the back door.
I guess you gotta look at the community and the economic development side around it too, so you gotta balance it out. But you're right, if we were a $40,000 deficit, I'd say cut it.
Well, it's a very valid question. It should
Yeah.
be debated.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Or at least should it be reduced? Right?
Okay, so moving on, just some basic information I give each time. The type of revenues, how are they increasing by type? And you can see residential property tax revenues growing faster than our other types. Be nice to have a little bit better mix here with a bit more commercial tax revenue. You'll see some municipalities have really good commercial bases. I wish that we had more. The sewer rate has to be pay for all of the expenses out of the sewer rate, and if there was a prior year deficit or surplus, that's factored into the calculation. Last year we didn't collect quite enough revenue. We were short $13,866. So that has to be covered in this year's rate. And wages and effluent testing were two of the areas that I saw rise in this budget. I think the effluent testing requirements, I can't speak for myself, but yeah, Ed was here, maybe Tom knows more about it, but the requirements are getting stiffer in that area, and I only see that getting more so in the future.
I guess the question is, we know what's going in there, so why, why are we testing it? For other,
The tests are more around the effluent that's going out into the
Yeah.
waters.
Yeah.
So, they want our
Counts per million to be below a certain level.
yeah, we got levels that we have to maintain. If we're over that, then, Environment Canada and Nova Scotia Environment will be on our door knocking, saying, listen, what's going on, something wrong with your plant,
yeah,
right? And, you shouldn't be putting this much out, and so, that's, going back, probably 10 to 15 years, that's where we were when we had the mechanical plant, right? We, quite frankly, we never met any of our targets. We always exceeded our targets, and we always had the washouts where raw sewage would bypass the plant and go in there into the basin. So that's why we had to invest the money that we did, and,
I wonder how many more years it's gonna be when they're saying you're gonna have to deal with biomedicines that are going in. That's, yeah. And someday they're going to do that.
And you can see in here, in the chart, not the graphical one, but the one below the table, you can see how the capital expenses, the principal and interest are coming out of that rate as well. So when we build the plant, those costs will be covered by the rate here.
Now, when we first introduced the sewer rate, the capital was being paid out of the general rate. And then eventually we just said, after people got used to paying the sewer rate, we just said, well, we'll bring our capital payments and interest into the equation because it is a legitimate expense, right? And so now,
But that's always planned catch-up, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, we're not subsidizing the sewer costs by general rate, is what, that was one of the intentions, and the other intention was so that we could capture our, non-taxable institutions that contribute a lot of wastewater to our systems, like schools and hospitals, right? We weren't getting any return for that, and basically the residential taxpayers were paying for that, plus what they paid on the tax bill for education and that stuff, so.
So on to the residential garbage rate, I think we talked about that. So solid waste tipping fees up $11,000 or 10%, and that's one of the larger items. I can bring up the actual calculation if you wanted more details on that. To look further on that one?
So then there's, to me, if you could take the $19,000 from your leaf and yard cleanup and cut that in half and just start collecting once a month.
Yeah, those are council decisions, yeah, they definitely can be had.
And we did reduce that quite a bit a number of years ago.
And since I've been here, that was debated to completely stop the extra pickup, but it was debated and decided to be capped, but those are discussions, yeah, for council.
Well, the discussion was just to cut some out of it, because we essentially had somebody full-time.
Yeah, we had.
Full-time person
Basically,
doing it.
they had two people in the ton truck running around picking up
I think you could eliminate a lot of that if you simply let people, and I think you'd be able to know, but on Victoria Street, if you let them dump leaf and yard waste, and then just took a load once a week, it would cut a lot of that down.
Yeah,
So there's the detailed calculation, so, one of the big ones was the transfer station operations. So the transfer station operations, we pay based on the tonnage that flows through. And I believe, there was some maintenance that wasn't getting done, and now we're looking at, I know the Director of Public Works is trying to help bring them up to speed and getting basic things done, like, having garbage bins, large garbage bins, without covers even replaced on them, they were simply filling with water. So there was a number of things that had to be done in ongoing operations. So that operations budget is up. But the tipping fees as well, that's a large one. So,
The operator did tell me they appreciate that there's somebody going in now and reviewing the operations and the maintenance of that property. Because it was deteriorating.
yeah, but back to the presentation. And RCMP costs, a bit out of our hands. I know a few years ago there was a review done. Could they be reduced? Number be reduced? I believe the answer that came back was no, for safety reasons. I see Middleton has increased this year by one RCMP member. They're also looking at potentially a 2-cent rise in their taxes this year.
We did learn at the RCMP advisory committee meeting that it's an optical of terms. If we have a detachment that has 16 officers, but 4 of them are out on maternity leave or whatever, what leaves that are approved, whatever, as far as the province is concerned, you're fully staffed. There's no replacement of officers, there's nothing about that problem.
And a complaint that we hear from all our other municipalities as well. It hurts the small municipalities worse.
This, because in the meeting that I was at down in Queens, it was talked about extensively about, and, you know, every unit that was represented there, all were saying the same thing. They're all singing off the same sheet about vacancies.
Yeah.
And we were talking more about the long-term vacancies, right? Like your,
Lack of a staff sergeant.
yeah, and things like that. We said, you know, if somebody's out sick for a week or so, well, that's fine, that's okay.
Yeah.
If somebody's gonna be off for 6 or 8 or a year, then you need a body, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like you trying to function without Matthew for 2 years.
Yeah.
How would you do that? You can't.
Oh, maybe you can.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
We need to save a few bucks.
Thanks, Matt.
You're on 2 years of that.
Unpaid.
Anyway, yeah, the RCMP has been
Yeah,
we've
but
provided that for
there
years.
is, and the other thing that, I brought up was the fact that, you know, when we're short members, then the next thing we know, we've got, members that get seconded, whatever it's, trouble with that word, so, and they said, well, no, that shouldn't be, well, I said, it is, I said, because I said it wasn't long ago that our corporals were going down to Clare and looking after Clare because they didn't have any sergeant down there. So that left us without people that we were paying for, right?
So it's twofold too. If you get one person on whatever leave they're on, you have to fill that position. Plus, the person who's filling the position now is half doing the job they should be doing in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you talk to the Department of Justice and you just get and you get blank stares, you know, what's it?
Yeah, well, this discussion was with the Department of Justice, so I think they're sort of I won't say they're coming around, but I think they're starting to listen because the voice is getting louder.
So like the province, they did suddenly realize the baby boomers were gonna retire or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so, on to the next slide, their history of our operating results, just have highlighted in yellow, there are operating surplus, what's left out of our revenues after our expenditures. And that's basically what gets used to pay for capital. So whether through debt repayments or transfers to reserves, replenishing them or building them for future capital. And we saw in the last 2 years, it really stands out just in this 6 years that are presented here, how those 2 years were not sustainable years. We need to be putting more away. In fact, we're even at the absolute minimum of what we should be doing. I mean, you just mentioned, for example, the arena. Our reserves are just remaining stable. In fact, we're heading into the yellow FCI now in total reserves. We're not green anymore. So we're not building them for these future projects. So yeah, next slide, operating capital reserves. So now we're in the yellow. You can see the percentage of total expenditures that our reserves represent, expenditures including debt repayments. And we're in the yellow now. We've historically been in the green on this indicator. So now we're going to be in the yellow. And this does take into account moving forward on Church Street and King Street, not next year, but in the year after, like we did in our capital budget.
And is that more like a trend for coming out of COVID in a lot of places, Matthew?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't compared that metric with other municipalities.
Because everybody's cost is gone, not just us.
Yeah, I certainly have talked to them about their capital projects, and they've mentioned Bridgewater specifically. Some of them, just they've had a few Mount Streets. We may have had one of the worst ones percentage-wise, but certainly some big projects have gone way over budget.
We have trillions of dollars in infrastructure deficit in the country, and how you expect 2,000 people to pay for it? There's got to be a shake-up somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah, well, we are expecting the fund $2 million, but
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. But it's huge. It's huge.
There's no pressure.
Well, we just found Matt's.
Yeah, we saved 2 years' salary already.
Yeah, I ain't gonna pay for Mount Street.
Can we give a bonus, so for every $1 million in funds, we give an extra $100?
No, he gets a day off.
Yeah, don't spend money on it.
Okay.
And a free month.
As long as it's not beaten.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good, it's becoming a huge issue. Once we do Church Street, King Street, we'll be looking at other streets.
Provided something else doesn't fail in between.
In the middle breaks, yeah.
So this next slide is one that we have been yellow on for quite a while now, and that's our residential tax effort. So how much of household income are you paying for your taxes? And we struggle, and not because there's a lot of taxes paid per dwelling unit in the town of Digby, but because our income is so low, even lower than, when we look at the municipal statistics across the province, even lower than Cape Breton, which always seems to be in the news about how problematic it is, but we struggle more than they do with our household income. So not an area where I think we're going to improve. I mean, certainly a big industry in town would help, but I don't know the long-term solution.
We have some poverty rates in southwest Nova are the same as Cape Breton, parts of Cape Breton. We're high.
So here's the property tax rates comparison by town. And again, when we look at, I always like to draw the attention to the town of Digby and Wolfville, and the fact that they have lower rates than us. Well, I haven't done the per dwelling unit amount of residential tax they pay, and I don't have good statistics from them. I wish that I did. But I can guarantee you that the same bungalow in Wolfville pays more taxes than the same bungalow in Digby.
Just the reason, the value, yeah.
But their assessment is so much higher.
Yep.
But our rate looks bad. It is higher, but it's is because of our assessments. And that is because, when we move on to this slide, I couldn't believe when I saw this, the median capped assessment for a single family dwelling in the town of Digby is $128,000. So that's the middle. And even the market on that is $168,000. So it's that's, well, I guess it's good and bad. If you're trying to buy, it's good that the house values are so low. It's bad if you're trying to apply a tax rate and people.
Are we now current on assessments, or are we 1 year behind?
Values are 2 years behind, so they're effectively, this year is based on sales throughout 2022 up to the end of 2022.
Yeah, so we should be seeing an increase again next year in assessed value for 2023.
Right now on Royal LePage, the average house price for sale in Wolfville is $842,000.
Yeah.
That makes the point.
Yeah. That's where I have this argument with my boss all the time when they talk about goals across like central western Nova Scotia, how our goals are comparable to a place like Wolfville. And I'm like, how? Like, how can we have the same sales dollars as that?
In the town of Digby, we don't have a house assessed over 7.
I bet you Lunenburg is even a little higher or the same.
Lunenburg would be high.
So it's interesting you say that's the average. In the town of Digby, we don't have a home assessed over $700,000. They're all under $700,000. And that's the average in Wolfville's $850,000.
Had somebody tell me they were gonna put their house on the market for 1.6 million.
That's what people are asking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do want to try. I've asked PBSC for some of this information so I can compare across municipalities, especially getting the median assessment, but it doesn't seem to be readily available. Even on the open data portal, it doesn't seem to be available. And that's then the last slide. So this budget is more sustainable than the previous 2 years' budgets. Feels much better, and I know we've all been here for the past 3 years, and you can certainly tell that this one feels better than the previous 2 years. But we can't be complacent though, because future debt servicing costs are going to be high and getting higher as old infrastructure continues to be updated. We have 3 big projects. One started, 2 more to go, and that will continue. Now the costs have increased faster than the CPI index over the last 3 years. That's sort of a shame, but the only thing I can see by analyzing the numbers so far is just that construction costs, energy costs, the things that we're heavily weighted in, are moving higher than the CPI is moving up higher, faster than the CPI is rising. And that's
Energy costs for power 14%. In the last 2 years. Looking at it now, they get what? They want another 6.1 or something to go before. Yeah.
And that's the end of the presentation. If there's any specific questions, I know the detailed budget is in your package. If there are any questions.
Any comments?
Just to make you feel better, the Middleton presentation is over 100 pages long.
Yeah, Matthew showed it to me. We were flipping through, looking at it. A lot of big print, though. To be fair. And Middleton's population is
Very similar. I can't exactly.
They're less than us.
they're less. I think it's
700.
yeah, they're down. Yeah. But they also, if I remember correctly, have a lot of potential for expansion. They have a lot of vacant land on the boundaries. So. Yeah, we know. Although we have, land.
And the thing is that with Middleton, that industrial park is their industrial park, just belongs to the town. All of that is within the town boundaries.
Is it serviced or no?
Yes.
And they don't pay for an arena.
And they don't pay for an arena either.
Corporations are on their own. A lot of places in Nova Scotia.
Well, yeah. There we go.
Up to the second blue line, that's the town line.
That's right.
Yeah, well, that's, and all the expensive equipment in that arena is on the other side of that blue line.
Hey, look it up.
Yeah.
Matthew's salary for 2 years
Yeah.
after. Woohoo!
Fair enough.
I don't know, but the other side of it is they have recreation department and a director, and they do programs, but I don't know how much it costs them to do their programs.
Middleton?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look online.
Berwick's the same way.
Well, Berg has got that beautiful facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not theirs.
No. Separate, run by a separate commission.
Separate,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Katie Harvey's the
yeah,
recreation director,
but I think,
anything to do with the arena.
well, I think it's a similar setup to us, so, and I don't,
Totally different.
Davenport, it's no money to,
No money. They either
Well,
grant.
we should start looking at their
grant
model then.
organizations, yeah.
yeah, that's a model we should look at.
Mm.
Okay, what's your thoughts? Comments? Do you wanna digest this some more, or do you wanna turn it down, or approve it, or more questions? We've seen this before.
Like Matthew said, next year could be make or break, could be all right.
Yeah, it's looking good. I think the single thing that I can think of is that the residential assessments, well, all assessments should still be rising one more year. And hopefully inflation isn't rising by a similar pace.
That's what, 2.9 now, I think.
If we say we just suddenly sell the lot on Mount Street, could we take that and put directly into a reserve?
Well,
It has to.
all sales have to go into a capital.
Like capital.
Yeah.
It has to go in the capital reserve, yeah. We can't bring that into operating.
No, but that would help us out. if we did
It
sell
helps capital wise, helps invest in, things. It's just like when we sold Shore piece.
Yeah, did you factor in the potential sale of the property on
That's gonna be.
Victoria Street into anything there with respect to our reserves?
No, I didn't. No,
How much
actually.
is it being sold or up for sale?
Well, it's up for sale.
No sign.
No, but it is listed, Victoria Street development there, and they've reduced the price.
Oh, no, I meant ours.
Oh,
Our little,
our house.
I know we haven't officially decided on that, I guess, so I suppose you can, but.
But then again, that's capital, so.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll help our overall, potentially help our reserves.
Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket in the big scheme of things at the capital.
And if we have more drops to the bucket.
It helps, it definitely helps.
Penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still applies, whether it's a million or a penny, so.
Do we have any other properties that are likely to add to our overall residential or commercial taxable in the next year or two?
Tom, with development would be more familiar. There's
Anything that's expected to be finished this year, or that was finished last year that will add to?
December 1st is the state date, so that's what was built.
Well, it depends on, because, the Shore Road property, we've got an application that should be coming to this month's PAC for development agreement to build on that property, so.
Okay.
And his plans are, just as soon as we can get through the paperwork done, then, construction's gonna commence, so.
Okay.
And that's not gonna be cheap,
No.
Okay.
it's not gonna be a cheap house.
And then you got the Mount Street project, those buildings, and potentially down to South End, yeah, so there are lots coming on board, if we could just get them on.
But there's probably only a couple potentially for next year that might have an effect on
could.
everything.
But, I mean, that with the, I'll call it Thomas Road, project, that person is basically what she told me on the phone, or she says, she had started investing in Lunenburg. And, she said, I'm gonna tell you, she said, I'm not investing anymore in Lunenburg, too hard to get along with. And what we have been working back and forth, the way we've been working and trying to help her do development, that she intends to buy more property and possibility of building, well, the intention of building more housing.
Well, you look, yeah, well, Matthew, I said, we were talking whether you should do an analytical study of potential growth and costs, they're all projections over the next 3, 5, 10 years. To give us an idea, that's a lot of work. You almost have to hire an actuary to sit down and spend a year that understood how municipal governments work to come up with an idea where we're gonna be.
Yeah, and we're not a Calgary or a Toronto where we have predicted growth patterns. We have predictable growth patterns.
Yeah.
They have historical patterns that they can see and statistics they can do on their development permits and count cranes in the air.
With the sewer plant shut down on the south end and the fish plant's closed on the north end, we should be able to see some development something in between.
Yeah, I continue having conversations about that way.
Yeah.
Whenever I see something. Okay, guys. You wanna accept this budget and approve it?
I don't think there's much of this wiggle room that we can,
No. And if we do, then you have the resolutions in front of you there. Set for,
Every $15,400 you have, that's 1 cent off the residential and commercial.
so Matthew has typed those up in front of us. So all you would need is move, second it, and approve it.
I'll move the council accepts the following estimates and sums required by the town of Digby for the fiscal period ending March 31st, 2025, prepared in accordance with section 72 of the Municipal Government Act.
Second.
Any discussion? Although we just heard a lot of it. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? General tax rates. Anybody wanna put that forward?
I'll move the general tax rates as listed on the document that was distributed to council. I don't know if anything else specific said.
Well, you can just read the rates, the general
Okay,
tax rates.
general tax rates as follows: residential resource, $1.91 in assessment; commercial, $4.20 per $100 in assessment; and that the taxes are due and payable on taxes to be billed by way of interim tax bill issued in April due May 31st, 2024, and final tax bill issued in September due October 31st, 2024, with interest to be charged on all final tax accounts outstanding on interest on overdue amounts to be charged at a rate of 19% per annum.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Fire protection rate.
We'll make that motion if I don't have to read it.
No, that's rather, just maybe the last line there, at the bottom.
The fire protection rate of the 2024-25 fiscal year is set at 12 cents per $100 of assessment and be applied on the interim tax bill issued in April due May 31st, 2024, and final tax bill in September due and payable by October 31st, 2024, with interest on overdue amounts to be charged at the rate of 19% per annum.
I'll second that.
Second. I think I heard deputy mayor first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just said that.
Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays. The solid waste management, uniform charge, probably the same thing, just the last.
I'll move therefore be it resolved that uniform charge of $353 be levied for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025 on each dwelling unit within the boundaries of the town of Digby, and that these uniform charges are applied on the interim tax bill issued in April, due May 31st, 2024, and final tax bill in September, and are due and payable by October 31st, 2024, with interest on overdue amounts to be charged at the rate of 19% per annum.
Second.
Second.
Oh, on that one. Any discussion? Hearing none, all
Yeah.
yeah.
I would. Yeah.
All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Sanitary sewer rates. got a oxymoron, sanitary sewer rates, maybe we should.
Sanitizing the sewage.
That is poop you'll see.
Everybody.
Okay, so
Unless you're cat.
maybe just there be, just,
I'll change it for next year to wastewater rates.
Okay. We'll sanitize it.
And unless you wanna change it now, we'll change it now.
no.
Too much work.
Maybe just the line, read the line publicly, the sewer charge will be $7.34. Whoever,
Or be it resolved that the sewer surcharge should be $7.34 per 1,000 gallons of water compensation.
seconded to that?
Second.
All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion was carried. And tax certificates.
Whereas council is authorized to set a fee for a tax certificate pursuant to section 132, bracket 2 of the Municipal Government Act, therefore be resolved that the tax certification fee shall be $40 per tax certificate.
Seconded.
Second.
Any discussion? Here, none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None.
And that's food centers.
Yes. Yeah, food centers, yes. Okay. Are we done with you, Matthew? Yes.
For 2 years.
Yes. Thanks for coming. Just put in your calendar this time, 2026, we'll see you.
I'm gonna get prepped the next 2 years' budgets. There you go.
I think we've all chat GPT anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing, that'll be.
Right at his office.
Yeah.
Boy, that was
Leave the room first.
You just wanted to say it before Dan. So you're fitting in nicely, Rob.
Yeah. Temporary board resolution, this is what we have to do every year, just so that we continue operating. Anything there that we, unusual, other than the fact that we do have to borrow some money?
That's for capital.
Capital, yeah. No, I should say capital, yeah.
For the capital work.
All those, things that we approved in our capital budget, now we have to actually approve the money spent. Can we have a motion on the floor so we can discuss it?
I'll move that.
Seconder? Second. Okay, anything in there that, Tom, you wanna highlight to us? It's all stuff that we've talked over in the past, but.
Yep, Schedule A sort of outlines, it's the fire rescue truck at 125. And then other equipment for, and
Can I pause on the fire one? Did you have any luck with the grant you had submitted, Rob, for, you said there was a long shot grant you were submitting to see if we could get funds for the air compressor?
Yeah, we're supposed to hear about that in October.
Oh, okay. Remind me next time I ask you, just say October again.
yeah.
I'm sure I'll ask you at least
Okay.
once more before then.
Yep, so we got that, the replacement of, the tractor and a new 5-ton truck, plow truck, 285. You got 40 in there for the tractor, and, well, that would be the net price after trading of our existing, because otherwise, 40,000 would be the tax what we want, so.
Buy you a lawn tractor today.
Well, I just bought one for 36.
Well, there you go.
Mount Street upgrades on 1.3 million. Street Street, traffic solution, 125,000. And upgrade the storm sewer from Racket Road to the basin, 45,000. And the Shore Road culvert is 650,000. And the total of 2,600,000.
Just remind us of the traffic solution up there at Street Street. What was that solution? Cause we were talking a number of different things.
Yeah, well, one of it is, one is, possibly putting, the dark parking lot, putting another exit out on 3rd Street, so that,
Oh, yeah, there you
and,
go.
and, so that's considerable amount. Widen the intersection at Mount, Shreve and Victoria, putting, right turning lane, so that people coming out, if somebody has to wait to go left because of traffic or crossing guard or whatever the case may be, they can go, if they're going right, they can keep on going, and it'll cut down on the amount, so, those are
So my understanding for that is that, I didn't think it was gonna go through, and they were gonna move the crosswalk to the far
yeah,
side.
that as well, on the, that's still gonna,
It's
because
still gonna happen,
that's still gonna happen.
right?
Crosswalk's gonna be moved from, I guess, the east side of the driveway going into the parking lot, arena parking lot, to the west side. And then that way we're gonna do some of the easy things first and see how things work, right? We budgeted for the,
Cause I know Dark isn't really in favor of another driveway, cause it's so
yeah,
close
well,
to the playground.
the thing
And
is
you lose
that,
parking, right?
yeah, well, the thing is they may not be happy, but they're not the owners of the facility, quite frankly.
Right, but has the municipality agreed to that too, though, the program?
It's town of Digby's property. The front half belongs to town of Digby.
Right to the blue line.
We decided not to do it if there was a 60-40 split on cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it ultimately it's about safety, so they do lose 2 or
Right.
3 parking lots.
Spaces.
Spaces, yeah.
I prefer to lose 0 parking lots in this town.
Well, yeah, it's parking, yeah. Okay, I just
see
knew
it-
there was.
I just see it slowing things down more, really. Cause when you move that crosswalk, they still gotta walk across another street, right? They're still walking across the street, no matter how, cause instead of coming to the parking lot, they've gotta stop, right? So I.
You mean the other new entrance,
Yeah,
potential new
yeah,
entrance, yeah.
and the crosswalk being moved, they still have to come across to get to the cars, right? So you're stopping them, cars are coming out of the driveway anyway. And when they walk across the street and come up and up, when they come out the other end, they're still gotta stop to go across that street. So it's.
Maybe the right-hand turn lane is.
Well, the other thing was to extend the or the sidewalk
On the bus side.
on the bus side, loop
Right.
side, so
Right,
that
so they didn't
when
have to
they
cross.
cross, they won't have to go over on that unless they're going to the park,
Right.
right? If they're going to school, they can walk right down, and then there won't be any crosswalks, right? They can walk down and then into the, whatever way the school will allow them to.
So I'm just wondering, with all the work we're doing now, does this have to be in this year's? Is it gonna get done this year for next year? Probably not, I don't know.
I think normally we make the resolution just in case we're able to get it done this year, is that?
Yeah, this is just a resolution. The thing is that we have to send this boring resolution in so the minister can approve it.
Right.
That gives us boring ability to, up to the 2.6, right? If what we actually, because they will not lend us 2.6 if we didn't spend it. We have to spend it first. And so if we come in at 1.8, for instance, then basically that's all that will be for.
Yeah.
Right. And
And up there's been an issue, I'm surprised there just hasn't been incidents there. You go by there at 8:30 in the morning, it's just, I avoid it quite often, going across there. Yeah, I'll cut across West Street or something, because it's.
Now, we've also met with the Tri-County Regional Center of Education, whatever they're called this week, and, about, some things that they need to do, or should be doing, to help alleviate the problem, like adding an entrance from Victoria Street for the buses to come down through, right, to that loop, basically, and then they can line up that road and around the loop, and then they're only exiting was from Shreve Street when they leave. Right now, you've got buses coming both ways, along with the people picking up or dropping off kids. That's, so.
So there'll be some more work in regards
Yeah.
to studies and, or
Yeah.
what we think will work best.
Yeah.
And
For
Dark
our
has a
budget,
concern right now.
We budgeted for the worst case scenario, but we basically will start with the low hanging fruit first. Keep, the crosswalk will be moved and things like that.
Did the sinkhole get filled?
Pardon?
Did the sinkhole get filled?
Sinkhole?
Whatever their hole was in their driveway that everyone was complaining about on Facebook.
Where was that?
When you, the first entrance into the school loop,
Oh, was it school?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's
it
not.
looked like it was on their property, not ours.
Yeah, well, it will be on my property.
Okay, did I hear someone put a motion forward? Did you put a motion forward?
Sure.
No, I'm not.
Yep, no,
Okay, but I heard you say approve the, okay. And you seconded it?
Yeah, I was talking about the crosswalk, but yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? As the CEO said, we put in for this, we may not spend it, which is quite frequent legally. If no,
So we could technically use this money to furnish Rob's new office when he takes over Matt's office.
Reynolds.
Yeah.
Well, we can mark it down for capital somehow.
Actually, I think if we have both gone, that man, look at the money.
Oh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not what I just said, motion.
I'll make sure to take that.
Okay. Any of those opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, continuing talking about Dark, is the Zamboni that CEO discussed with us a while ago. Tom? Give us the numbers.
So basically, what is left at this point, and I say reason for at this point, because she is still, the manager is still looking at for another grant, and for the rebate for electric Zambonis. There is a program for rebates, so she's trying to get her application in for that. So this is the worst case scenario, the 96 divided by 2, which is the dresses.
Yeah, and I think she had a conversation with her in LA too.
Yeah.
Yeah, about whether there's.
So ours is, so basically what it is setting up a loan to DART for $48,030, and the first payment would come out in the 25-26 fiscal year, so it won't affect any of this year's budgets as far as budgetary.
And we had this number in our 25-26 capital budget, was it there, if I remember correctly? No?
I'm not sure
No,
we're
okay.
gonna hit Zamboni in there because we hadn't finalized on how,
Okay.
because at that point, I wasn't sure whether, we were just gonna, I mean, we're gonna pay for it one way or the other, right? Comes out of Dart's budget, but we've got to fund it.
I'm sorry, but I have to point out that this must be the most Canadian sentence I've ever read in my life.
Which
The
one's that?
Zamboni was procured through the canoe procurement.
Yes, I read that. And what is the canoe?
Yeah, canoe is a discount we get through its recreational insurance.
No.
We've seen them in all.
What it is through the Nova Scotia procurement, and when I wrote that, I knew I was gonna have questions, so, the thing is, they go out and do the procurement, and they, like Zambonis, and not only just Zambonis, we can purchase trucks, anything, they'll go out and they look, they do all the legwork, they do the tendering, and then they, say, you look, call them up and say, listen, we're looking for such and such. You guys have any? And they say, yes, we do, and this is the price, right? So they've done all the legwork for the tendering, plus they offer a discount for municipalities and that. And it's all legal through the procurement, Nova Scotia procurement process, right?
Okay.
So we don't have to, otherwise, they would have had to gone through a tender process. So what it does, it takes all of that work, going through a tender process. They have the specs, and they spec, they may spec for 25, for 30 of them to get better pricing,
Does
right?
that come from the US or they have a Canadian distributor?
No, it's Canadian.
Well,
Well,
we
I
saw
think,
them in Toronto.
Trade show.
are you talking about the Zamboni? That I can't tell you. I'm talking about canoes, Canadian.
Yeah, I assume they agree.
Yeah, but,
Do we get a canoe out of this with a picture of a beaver on it? Oh, somebody get all canoe.
well, they make them all put their logo, canoe's logo on the Zamboni.
It's already spoken for.
That's
10,000 a year.
Yeah, where was the procurement
No.
process for getting like an ad on that thing? $500 a year for each one? That seems kind of cheap. We wouldn't have paid more, but give you a $100 gift card, but I want to be front and center on it.
Scene points.
Yes.
So,
you're looking for a motion to approve this? We knew it was coming to us and we had an idea of the numbers, but.
so basically it'll be set up if, council remembers that the half-ton truck that Dart purchased, we
Yeah.
finance that for him. We cut the check and paid for it and paid us back. And I think, in this last fiscal year, it's the last payment.
I was gonna say, it must be nearly done, because that was done
Yeah.
prior to you two getting on council, so.
So,
5 years or something.
yeah, so it was a 5-year, and I'm suggesting that this, be a 5-year after. And I think that's, the municipalities following suit with their half, set up the same thing. So, Dark will have these payments in their budget, but,
As long as they don't raise the budget just to recover it from us,
Well,
cover
yeah,
the basics.
yeah, it wasn't in their budget. They didn't have the authority to spend the money.
Actually, technically, it wasn't a budget because it
Well, what?
was called the revenue line of 79,000. You wouldn't have if you didn't have the Zamboni.
Semantics.
No waste, no revenue.
Wow. Yeah.
Looks like we get a large grant from community culture, tourism, and something.
CCH.
CCTH, yeah.
they got 60, she got 65. I mean, she went for broke, she matched the whole thing, 100% from there. She got 65.
They give out money for anything else.
And, yeah, the other thing is, the rebate, basically, they get all their HST back.
Okay.
And, then, of course, the sponsorship took into account, and so that loan's at 96. So divide that by 50%.
I think the last time we got involved in buying a Zamboni, it was about a 5-year discussion before it finally got done.
And then Arnie just ordered it in Frankfurt.
Yes, yes. So, we put a motion through approving our 50%.
We put a motion through to approve 45%. On the other end.
And you could put a caveat in there, pending grants too or something, but the grant will be a bonus if we get it.
Well, the thing is, we won't be setting it up,
So
you know,
next
she
year.
should know before, she's not gonna have to write a check for the Zamboni till
Yeah.
it arrives, right? So,
Can I have that in writing?
Well, we won't write a check either.
we're not gonna write our check.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we won't write our check until, the Zamboni, we have the purchase order in hand for the Zamboni.
So what's the waiting period on that?
Well, it's supposed to be here, mid-August, so
Next
I've
month.
got another over a month.
And where does it get stored? Is that a problem about the length of time it might be stored in town work?
Well, the old one over there, he was concerned about it sitting there and deteriorating. Okay, what do we like to do here?
So where's the old one?
Well, Ed was talking about the last committee of the whole, but they were gonna, Public Works for,
Yeah, for a few months.
yeah. After
Yeah,
this
well, I
one.
know, I talked to him.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. Anyway, I think that's still up in the air on whether we're gonna keep that machine.
Cover this up.
She talked about keeping it and renting it, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't think there's been any final decision on that, and, you know, I mean, if you had the room to just let it sit there, that may be one thing, but you might as well see what you can get out of it.
That's what I said.
And,
It's not gonna increase in value.
No. And things, when they sit, they break down, they deteriorate. Okay. Want to put a motion through for this?
So if she doesn't get the grant, should we add on another 30,000 up to?
No, this is,
this grant, right now, she's got a commitment of 65, right?
Yeah.
She's got, and the HST gets 100% of it back.
Yeah.
And then she's got the 10,000 in sponsorship. So, and that leaves 96,000 from us and the municipality, like 50-50. And, instead was 196,718, which is what the total cost of the Zamboni is.
she gets another grant, we're all successful in getting us another grant for capital, and we'll put it towards this, and the municipality pays off their portion.
Sure. Yeah. So the thing is, if she gets that electrical rebate, then that'll lower,
Yeah.
lower, this, but this is the worst case scenario, $49,000, 48, sorry.
Okay. Yep. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Yes. Seconder? Do I hear a seconder?
I didn't say anything yet.
No, you're not saying anymore. Don't get a seconder, the motion dies on the floor.
No skaters in here.
Second. Any discussion? How tall is it? Will it hold up the roof?
We're gonna put the old one between the two buildings.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Yay, there's one. Yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay, there you go. I'm gonna say Red Cross, it's not Red Cross. Like general.
Crime Stoppers?
Crime Stoppers, yeah. They were, my computer suddenly decided it's gonna reboot here. Okay.
That was Micah, that could be it.
Yeah, my God. Crime Stoppers.
Maybe that came from the RCMP committee meeting. Yeah.
Somebody asked me to add garage stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
you, sorry.
Oh,
So that was, you wanna speak on it, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's brought up at the RCMP joint committee meeting. Something was sent out to the CAOs and or maybe just to Linda. Yeah, we'd asked for it to be sent to everyone afterwards. They reached out wondering if they can put up decals, stickers, magnets on property that's owned by the municipality in town. I think they suggested spots like Allfield and, well, potentially any of our buildings. We agreed that it should be discussed at, each of our units separately to see if it's something we want to do. And, we discussed whether or not, it's even useful to stick up little Crime Stoppers, things around, or if, there's better ways of advertising at this juncture. But,
You see the television ads, I think,
No, they've stopped.
Have they
Since
stopped
Wayne
those?
Noonan retired, they haven't done any,
oh,
which I questioned the RCMP officer
Yeah.
about. Mike, they have a lot better ways to raise your profile, but they want basically to put these stickers on town-owned assets.
okay. There used to be solid billboards around the property
Yes,
too.
yeah.
I don't know if they still exist, I haven't paid attention to them. What are your thoughts? Sticking with their trying, I know their point is probably trying to encourage people to call Crime Stoppers.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that they had the ball field on there as a suggestion, because I'm pretty sure the 92 Church Street folks would have that torn down in about 20 minutes. But I don't think it could hurt if they're paying for the stuff to go up, but just to maybe see how it goes and see how long they stay there, and if they all get, vandalized or torn.
Some town vehicles.
Yeah,
Well, I think you should get a hold of them, pitch some of the ideas we discussed about making actual videos again to just, to
Absolutely.
have up there, because Crime Stoppers was more prevalent. You knew what it was,
Yes.
15, 20 years ago, more than today. They need to.
They used to have an organization here, so
right, so,
Yeah.
we tried to get one going probably about 15 years ago, I think. And, no one showed up to the meeting, didn't do it.
Block parents, it kind of just went away.
Yeah, that-
Long way too, what was the other one?
they were doing the citizen patrol.
Citizens on Patrol, we
Patrol.
looked at that through,
Yeah.
and
So what are our thoughts? Allow them to put up a few little deco signs, right?
I'd say maybe make sure that we're approving the locations that they're doing it, so they're not just coming by and sticking them on the windows.
Yeah,
here.
oh yeah, we need to
There
know.
was a constable contact in the letter to Mike Lindstone, that if you wanted any more information.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Well, why don't we invite them to come to a committee of the whole meeting?
Sure.
Yes. Well, they attend, the district's meeting quite frequently, policy review meeting, I think, something like that, so. Yeah, let's invite them in and tell them we may have other questions besides Crime Stoppers, so, yeah. Yeah, we'll reach out to them, say, good job. Yeah. Discuss it in detail. See if we can get in here for the next meeting, the committee of the whole meeting, so.
It's never been cheaper to make your own videos.
Pardon?
Never been cheaper to make your own videos.
Yeah, well, it's the equipment that you were talking about earlier. Okay, so we'll send them a letter, invite, and ask somebody to come down and talk about the program.
It's funny, I just.
So you're not approving the installation until, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, I think we wanna know more details as to where. Yeah, be clear. Okay, that's the last thing on the agenda.
Actually, just a question. I thought we discussed this during executive, but were we going to discuss the feedback from the RCMP regarding our judiciary? Was there a letter received?
We didn't get a letter from them, but they want us to write a letter, so we
Okay.
discussed about writing it, so I'll see when it's got drafted,
Okay.
yeah. They want a letter from us to the Department of Justice,
Okay.
asking for a judicial review.
Yeah.
So when we do that, just make sure you keep your nose clean, so you don't want.
Okay. Well, I actually wrote to
Yeah.
the communications department at the Department of Nova Scotia Justice, but no one's got back to me.
No, you,
Because I requested how to submit, well, a complaint or a request for a review, and nobody's responded to me yet. So maybe they'll answer Tom if he doesn't.
Yeah, well, they should answer council. We write it up, they should answer council.
And you should, but they
Well,
haven't.
they will. It'll be more than a letter then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll follow up more on that discussion. Okay. Anybody wanna go home?
Yeah, motion to adjourn.